My mom told me my wife wasn't real family before Thanksgiving and everything changed. Reddit stories. She said it casually, with my daughter sitting at the table coloring turkeys. That one sentence rewired how I saw my parents forever. Hi, I'm Caleb, 37, firefighter out of Dallas, and last Thanksgiving Eve, my mother told me my wife wasn't welcome at the family dinner because she's not exactly family. She said it the same way someone might say, "The special today is meatloaf." Like it wasn't the sentence that would split my entire life into before and after. I was standing in our kitchen, one hand on a half-packed pie box, the other holding the phone. My daughter, Emma, 6 years old, Lego scientist, world champion turkey colorer, sat at the table drawing little pilgrim hats on cartoon birds. She looked up at me when my mom said it. Her marker froze mid-stroke. Her eyes went wide behind her glasses, the way kids look when they know something terrible just happened but don't know which rule it breaks. Mom kept going, voice cheerful and sharp. "You can come, Caleb. Of course you can. But her and the girl, well, it's just not the same. This year is for real family." Real family? My wife, Mia, was rinsing sweet potatoes in the sink, humming to herself until she saw my expression fade like a power outage. She shut off the water and turned, eyebrows lifting in question. I didn't yell. I didn't defend. I didn't give the speech that clawed up my throat and begged to be spoken. I just whispered, "Got it," and hung up. Emma whispered, "Are we in trouble?" Mia dried her hands slowly, watching me like she could sense the tectonic shift happening under my ribs. "No, baby," I said, kneeling beside her chair. "We're not in trouble." But in my head, something finally, broke clean. Not from rage. Not from surprise. Just from being done. Because here's the part one never really said out loud. For 5 years, I'd been quietly sending my parents money. Not help if you can money. Not Sunchips in once a year money. No $4.50 every other Friday. Automatically. Like a bill. Plus the $3,200 AC, and the $5,000 roof patch, and the $4,800 credit card bailout. $18,000 all told. And after all that, my mom still felt comfortable telling me that my wife was optional, and my daughter, was something like a +1. I looked at Emma. Then at Mia. In that moment, I knew something huge was coming. A change I should have made years ago. And I had no idea just how much it would cost, or save, my family. I sat down at the table across from Emma, trying to steady my voice while she kept rubbing at the corner of her drawing, like she could scrub away what she'd heard. "What did Grandma say?" she asked. Kids don't forget the tone adults use when they shrink their world. They hear everything. I swallowed. "She said something unkind," I told her. "About Mom. And about us coming over." Emma's eyebrows pinched together. "She doesn't want us there?" Her voice cracked right down the middle. Before I could answer, Mia knelt beside her. "Hey," she said softly. "None of this is because of you. You hear me? None of it." But Emma wasn't looking at Mia. She was staring at her drawing. "I made her a turkey," she whispered. She turned the paper around. It was one of those school Thanksgiving projects, big round turkey body, traced handprint feathers, and she'd drawn my mom's glasses on it. Even colored in the silver streak at the front of her hair. She had made it for her. And I suddenly had to grip the table to keep from punching a wall. "You know what?" I said, voice low and steady. "Grandma doesn't get your turkey. That's hers to miss, not yours to worry about." Emma nodded, but I could tell the words didn't land yet. They were too big. Too adult. Mia got up to put dishes away, but she looked back at me and her whole face said, "Caleb, we can't just let this go." And she was right. I walked over to the counter, grabbed my phone, and opened the banking app. My thumb hovered over the entry I'd stopped seeing months ago. Automatic transfer, Mom and Dad, $450. Next run Friday. I clicked it. A little screen popped up. Edit transfer. Then. Cancel transfer. Then. Are you sure? I pressed yes. I actually let out a breath, long, shaky, like air leaving a leaking tire. That's one thing, I said out loud without meaning to. Mia's head lifted. One thing, what? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I scrolled to the one category in our savings app that always felt like a punchline. Anniversary trip, Paris. Balance, $3,200. Plus whatever wasn't being siphoned away anymore. I stared at it. Then a wild, ridiculous, impossible thought landed in my head like a flaming meteor. Mia, I said, turning slowly, what would you say if I told you we could go to Paris now? She blinked at me. Now as in, someday now? No, I said. Now. She laughed once, disbelieving, tired, hopeful. Caleb, that fund is the same money you would have sent to your parents. Yeah, I said. But this time, we're using it for people who actually show up. Emma perked up. Paris? With the sparkly tower? Yeah, Bug, I said. With the sparkly tower. Mia stared at me like she was seeing me in a new light. Like she'd always known this version of me was somewhere inside. Just waiting to stop apologizing for choosing his own family. You're serious? She whispered. Dead serious. And for the first time in years, I felt like something in our lives was shifting in the right direction, not because of what my parents wanted, but because of what we needed. And I had no idea how far that shift was about to go. Booking the trip didn't feel real until the confirmation email pinged into my inbox with a little Paris skyline graphic like it was congratulating me for finally growing a spine. I turned the laptop so Mia could see. She pressed both hands over her mouth. Oh my God! Caleb, we're actually going. Emma spun in a tiny circle on the rug. I'm gonna eat French fries in France. That's actually not what they call. Mia elbowed me before I could ruin the moment. Absolutely, sweetie, she said. The fanciest fries ever. For the first time since that awful phone call, the house felt warm again. Ours again. But peace lasted all of 4 hours. Because that's when the photos from my family's Thanksgiving prep started dropping into the group chat. My mom had apparently decided to host early, turning the day before into some kind of loyalty roll call. Mark sent a picture of the table set for 12. My sister sent a photo of the turkey she'd dry-basted within an inch of its life. Then someone snapped a shot of the family wall, every grandchild's picture arranged neatly in a wreath circle. Everyone except Emma. Her frame was gone. Not fallen, removed. I stared at the empty space so long my vision went hot around the edges. Mia saw it over my shoulder. She didn't gasp or curse. She just whispered. They erased her. That quiet thing inside me, the last strand of patience, snapped without sound. I typed into the group chat. We won't be there tomorrow. We're taking care of our family. Happy Thanksgiving. 2 seconds later, Mark replied. Must be nice wasting money in Paris. And something inside me went perfectly, dangerously still. I didn't yell. Didn't defend myself. Didn't justify one damn thing. I wrote. Just so everyone's clear. It's the same money I've sent Mom and Dad for years. I just stopped funding people who don't include my wife and daughter. Then I locked my phone and set it face down. That single message changed everything. Within minutes, my phone lit up like a slot machine that hit all sevens. Mom, excuse me? Dad, you will call me now. Mark, bro, what are you saying? Sister, wow, drama much? Mom again, after all we've done. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I zipped up Emma's coat, grabbed Mia's hand, and said, Let's go get ice cream. It was 40 degrees out. Didn't matter. We sat in the car with the heater blasting while Emma dripped chocolate down her sleeve and told us which color balloons she wanted from the Eiffel Tower. Gold, because that's the fanciest. Mia leaned her head on my shoulder. You know they're not going to let this go, right? She murmured. No, I said. But neither am I. Because that's the thing no one tells you about setting a boundary. The moment you enforce it, really enforce it, everyone who benefited from you having none will treat it like betrayal. And they were just getting started. The 2:03 a.m. call from my father? The accusation? The threat? The moment everything truly exploded? That was coming next. Paris was cold enough to make your teeth ring, but Emma didn't care. She tugged us down every cobblestone street like she personally owned France. Mia kept laughing into her scarf. I kept waiting to feel guilty. It never came. But the messages kept coming. By Thanksgiving night, my phone looked like it was having a seizure. Texts, missed calls, voicemails, all from the same two people who treated my wife and daughter like footnotes. I ignored everything. We put Emma to bed in the little hotel cot by the window. She fell asleep mid-sentence, clutching her stuffed Dalmatian like it was parachuting with her into dreams. Mia washed her face, climbed into bed beside me, and whispered, "Do you feel okay?" I said yes. I didn't know if it was true yet, but it felt true. We'd been lying there maybe 10 minutes when my phone lit up on the nightstand. Dad. 2:03 a.m. Paris time. 8:03 p.m. Back home. Mia murmured, "Don't answer it." But I knew if I didn't take the call, they'd twist it. So I picked up. Dad didn't even say hello. "What the hell is wrong with you?" His voice was sharp, angry, the way it only ever got when money was involved. "You cut off the transfers? Without telling us? Your mother is hysterical." "Hysterical, Caleb. She says you humiliated her in front of the family group chat." I sat up quietly so I wouldn't wake Emma. "I didn't humiliate anyone," I said. "I told the truth." "The truth?" He barked. "You think parading around Paris is responsible when your parents are struggling? It's not my job to pay for your bills," I said. "Especially not after Mom said my wife and daughter weren't welcome." "Oh, for God's sake," he snapped. "Your mother didn't mean that. You know how she talks when she's stressed." "No," I said. "I know exactly how she talks when she's being honest." There was a beat of silence. Then, "You're going to ruin this family over one misunderstanding? Over a comment?" "You erased my daughter," I said. "From the wall. She saw it." Dad actually scoffed. "She's 6. Kids forget things." "You're being dramatic." I felt something cold settle under my ribs. "Dad," I said, "do you know how much money I've sent you and Mom in the last few years?" "Oh, here we go." 18,000. He went quiet. That money could have gone to Emma's future. To our house. To anything. But I used it to help you. And the one time, I spend it on my own family? You call it wasting it. Because it is a waste. He snapped. I closed my eyes. That was it. Not the phone call. Not the words. But the tone. That casual entitlement. That expectation. That confidence that I would always bend. "No more," I said quietly. "Transfers are done. For good." "You can't do that," he said. "We're counting on that money. We already made commitments." "That's not my problem." "You selfish little." I hung up. Just pressed the button and let the silence hit like a clean break. My hands shook, not from fear, but from clarity. Mia slid closer, curling into my side. "What happened?" she whispered. I looked at her, then at the small sleeping shape in the cot by the window. "I think," I said slowly, "I finally stopped being their son and started being Emma's dad." And that line, clean, sharp, irreversible, was the real beginning of everything that came next. Because my parents weren't done. They were about to escalate. Hard. When we flew home, I expected fallout. Angry texts. Voicemails. Maybe a guilt-trip casserole left on our porch. What I didn't expect was the silence. A full week went by. No calls. No group chat notifications. Nothing. It was eerie, like the quiet before a storm you can feel in the air before you see it. Mia kept asking, "You think they gave up?" I kept answering, "No. They're planning something." I was right. 2 weeks before Christmas, my doorbell rang. I wasn't going to answer it, truthfully. I was hoping it was a package, but then I saw a minivan in the street. My sister Tori drives a minivan, and she's one of the few people in my family who actually likes Emma. So I opened the door. It wasn't Tori. It was them. My mom wearing her church smile, the one that never reached her eyes. My dad standing stiff, jaw tight, like he'd been rehearsing something in the car. Behind them? No minivan. Just their sedan, parked crooked, like they didn't expect to be here long. "Caleb," Dad said without a hello, "we need to talk." Inside, Emma was on the floor building a Lego spaceship. She froze when she heard his voice. She'd forgotten about the Thanksgiving call, like kids sometimes do, but her body remembered. Mia stepped into the hallway behind me. "We'll make this quick," Mom added. "We just want to clear the air." I leaned on the doorframe. "You can say what you need to say from there." Mom blinked like I'd slapped her. "We aren't welcome inside? You told my wife she wasn't family," I said. "Door stays right here." Her lips pressed together. Dad jumped in. "Your behavior has been unacceptable. Skipping Thanksgiving, the group chat stunt, the transfers." "Stopping the transfers wasn't a stunt," I said. "It was overdue." Mom put a hand to her chest dramatically. "We are behind on everything, Caleb. Heating, the mortgage, the cruise deposit." I blinked. "The cruise deposit?" She nodded vigorously. "It was non-refundable. You know we've been planning that trip for years." I stared at them. "You booked a cruise before paying your heating bill," I said. Dad's jaw twitched. "We counted on that money, Caleb. You knew that. And that's the issue," I said. "You counted on money that was never yours." Mom's voice sharpened. "We never raised you to be so transactional." I actually laughed, one short sound. "You're right," I said. "You raised me to give without question. You raised me to sacrifice my family's comfort for yours. You raised me to pretend insults were jokes and boundaries were disrespect." Dad stepped forward. "This is your wife's influence." I shook my head. "Mia didn't cancel a single transfer," I said. "I did. Mia didn't say Emma wasn't family." "You did. Stop blaming her for choices that were mine." Mom snapped. "We never said Emma wasn't family." Emma looked up from the Lego pile. "You didn't want my turkey," she said softly. Mom froze. "I made it with glasses and everything," Emma added. "Daddy said we could take it. But you said don't come." My mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water. I didn't know you heard that," she whispered. "But she did," I said. "And you don't get to unring that bell." Dad recovered first, voice hardening. "So this is it? Years of support from us, and you just cut us off?" "That support ended when I grew up," I said. "Since then, it's been one way." Mom's eyes filled with angry tears. "You'll regret this. When you need us someday and we're not there." I cut her off. "You were never there." Silence. Cold, heavy silence. Then I lifted my hand and pointed at the driveway. "You can go now." Dad bristled. "You're making a mistake." I nodded. "Probably," I said, "but it's mine to make. Not yours to correct." I shut the door, not slammed, not dramatic, just closed. Mia exhaled shakily behind me. Emma walked over, small hands slipping into mine. "Are Grandma and Grandpa mad?" she asked. "Probably," I said. "Are we in trouble?" "No," I said, kneeling so she could see my face. "We're just not their bank anymore." She nodded like that made perfect sense, then asked, "Can we make hot chocolate?" Mia called from the kitchen. "Extra marshmallows." "We're celebrating." Emma perked up. "What are we celebrating?" Mia leaned into the doorway, flour on her cheek from the cookies she'd been shaping. Us, she said. We're celebrating us. But the fallout wasn't over. Not even close. Because someone else in the family saw an opportunity. And they were about to pick a side. A surprising side. And it would change everything. For the first time in my adult life, the holidays actually felt calm. No tension in my shoulders. No checking my phone every 10 minutes. No budgeting around someone else's crisis. Just our tiny house, our tiny Christmas tree, and Emma running around in reindeer socks like she was trying to outrun gravity. But the universe apparently hates peace. Because on December 22nd, someone knocked on our door again. Mia peeked through the window and whispered, "It's Tori." My sister, the only sibling I could tolerate for more than 5 minutes, was standing on our porch holding a foil-covered casserole like it was a peace treaty. I opened the door, expecting the usual tight smile she wore when she came as a messenger for our parents. But today she looked pissed. She pushed the casserole into my hands. "This is lasagna," she said. "Eat it. I don't care. The point is I need to talk to you." Mia raised an eyebrow at me. Emma ran past yelling, "Auntie Tori!" Tori softened instantly and scooped her up. Then she looked at me again, sharp, purposeful. "Kitchen. Now." I followed her in. Tori dropped her purse on the table, rubbed her face, and said, "Mom and Dad are losing it. And Mark is making it worse." No surprise. "What now?" I asked. "They're telling everyone you abandoned the family," she said. "That Mia turned you against them. That you're refusing to help them even though they're desperate." I snorted. "Of course they are." "Yeah," she said. "But here's the part they're not telling people." She pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. A bank statement. My parents' bank statement. I frowned. "Why do you have this?" "Mom asked me to help her apply for a hardship extension on the mortgage," Tori said. "She needed help scanning documents. And Caleb." She pointed at a line on the statement. A big line. "They're still paying for that cruise. The cruise they claimed they couldn't afford heating because of. The cruise they guilt-tripped me over. The cruise they booked because family time is important. Except, apparently, not all family." I stared at the statement. "They're 3 months behind on utilities," Tori said, "but they're still making payments to Royal Caribbean." I let out a quiet, humorless laugh. "Of course they were. You want the kicker?" she added. "They're telling people the money they used for the cruise is the money you stole by going to Paris." Mia, overhearing from the stove, whispered, "Oh my God!" I rubbed my forehead. "They're rewriting the whole thing," I muttered. "Yep," Tori said. "And Mark? He's backing them up. Calling you dramatic. Saying Mia manipulated you." Then she leaned closer. "But here's what they're not expecting." She exhaled. "I'm done with them too." That I did not expect. "Tori?" She shrugged, but her eyes were wet. "Emma called me yesterday," she said softly. "She asked if she did something wrong. If Grandma didn't like her anymore." My jaw clenched. "That kid," Tori whispered, "is the most loving, gentle little person I've ever met. And our parents made her feel small." Mia put a hand to her mouth. "I told her she did nothing wrong," Tori said. "But Caleb. I'm furious." She wiped her eyes and continued, "You're doing the right thing. And I'm not going to let them twist this into your fault. If they want to lie to the extended family, fine. I'll tell the truth louder." I blinked. "Tori, why? You've always tried to keep the peace." She gave a sharp little laugh. "Yeah, well, peace doesn't exist when one side thinks they're royalty." Then she said something that nearly knocked the wind out of me. "You were always the better parent than they were." My throat tightened. She squeezed my arm. "I'm on your side. And the kids want to see Emma. So expect us on Christmas. Whether your parents like it or not." Before she left, she paused at the doorway. Oh, and I blocked Mom too. Merry Christmas. Then she was gone. I just stood there in the quiet kitchen while Mia whispered, "Did that really just happen?" Yeah. Yeah, it did. The first real crack in the family's illusion, and it wasn't mine. It was theirs. But cracks don't stay cracks. They widen. And the confrontation that came next? The one where my father finally crossed a line he couldn't walk back from. That one was coming fast. Christmas morning should have been simple. Pancakes. Emma in fuzzy pajamas. Mia humming while wrapping the last-minute gifts we forgot about. But at 9:14 a.m., while Emma was showing Tori's kids her new art set, a loud knock rattled the front door. Not a polite knock. A police knock. A angry father who drove here with the script knock. Mia froze. Tori muttered, "Oh hell no." I already knew who it was. I opened the door just enough to block the living room. My parents stood on the porch, coats half-zipped, faces red, like they'd argued the whole drive over. Dad didn't even wait for a greeting. "You told Tori lies about us." I blinked. "That's what you came here for? On Christmas morning?" Mom pointed a shaking finger at me. "You have deliberately poisoned this family. Tori says you told her we erased Emma from the wall." "You know that's not true." I raised an eyebrow. "You moved her picture." "It fell," she snapped. "It fell into a drawer?" I asked. "Face down? Next to the broken ornaments?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then pivoted. "You have no right showing her our bank statements." My voice went razor flat. "I didn't. You showed them to Tori, remember? When you begged her to fix your mortgage application." Mom's nostrils flared. Dad stepped forward. "We are done being talked about like we're leeches. You owe us respect, Caleb." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't step toward him. Didn't let myself look away. "I owe my daughter protection," I said. "That's it." Dad scoffed. "Oh, so you're a big man now? Because you went to Paris instead of helping your parents?" "That money was mine," I said. "For my family. Not for your cruise." Mom's head jerked. "How dare you bring that up?" "Why?" I asked. "Because you'd rather lie about it. Pretend the heater broke because of us? Pretend you weren't sitting on a cruise deposit while demanding your son cover your basics?" Dad's face twisted. "The only reason we needed help is because we helped you first." Tori, who'd been listening from behind me, stepped forward. "Helped him how, Dad?" she snapped. "By ignoring him every time he needed something? By treating him like your emergency wallet? By telling his wife and daughter they don't count?" Mom gasped like someone had hit her. "Tori, don't you dare take his side." "I'm taking Emma's side," Tori said. "She's the only one in this house who deserves any of us." Dad tried to push past me into the house. That was it. I planted my hand on the door and said quietly but with absolute finality, "You are not coming in here." Dad's eyes went wild. "This is my family," he barked. "No," I said. "This is my family. Emma's family. Mia's family. You had a place here, and you ruined it." He jabbed a finger toward my face. "You keep choosing them over us." "Yes," I said. "Every single time." Mom took a shaky breath. "Caleb, please, we need your help. We're drowning." It was the first honest sentence she'd said in months. But I didn't bend. "I am not funding your lifestyle," I said. "I'm not paying for a cruise you shouldn't have booked. I'm not bailing out a budget you refuse to manage. And I'm not letting you hurt my kid to keep your pride intact." Dad's voice dropped into something low and venomous. "You'll regret this. When your marriage fails, when Mia leaves, when Emma grows up and hates you, don't come crawling back to us." Behind me, Mia inhaled sharply. Tori whispered, "Jesus." I looked him straight in the eye. "Get off my porch." Dad's face went purple. Mom caught his sleeve, but he jerked her off. "You're dead to us," he snapped. Both of you. Enjoy your perfect little life. He turned, stomped down the steps, nearly slipping in the frost. Mom followed, crying in big dramatic sobs that didn't fool me anymore. Their car peeled away. For a moment, the street was quiet. Then Tori exhaled a long, shaky breath. Well, she said, that went exactly as terribly as I expected. I finally let go of the doorknob. My hand had been shaking without me noticing. Mia walked up behind me and wrapped both arms around my waist. Hey, she whispered into my back. We're okay. Emma peeked around the corner, eyes round. Daddy? Are Grandma and Grandpa still mad? I knelt. They're upset, I said. But that's their problem. Not ours. She crawled into my arms. My turkey wasn't bad, she whispered. No, I said, kissing her hair. It was perfect. And in that moment, just a quiet house, my wife's hand on my shoulder, my daughter pressed against my chest, I realized something. I didn't just set a boundary. I burned the bridge behind it. Now all that was left was what came next. The final fallout. The choice they would make. And the life we'd build without them. The week after Christmas felt strangely calm, the kind of quiet you get after a storm, not peaceful, but clearer. Mia went back to work, Emma went back to school, and I returned to the station where the guys kept asking me for Eiffel Tower pictures like I was some world traveler instead of a man who learned to say no for the first time in his life. But the quiet didn't last. It started with a message from my cousin Tori at 6:40 a.m. You might want to know, Mom's telling everyone you stole from them. I stared at my phone, half dressed for shift. Stole? I didn't even respond at first, just read it twice, then a third time, to make sure exhaustion wasn't making me hallucinate. When I finally texted back, all I wrote was, "What exactly did I steal?" Tori replied with a screenshot of a group chat I wasn't in. My mother had typed, "Caleb drained our savings for his little Paris vacation. We supported him for years. Now he abandons us." Drained. Savings. My jaw locked so hard it clicked. They had no savings except what they planned around. They never once asked how my bank account handled 18 months of their mortgages, surprise medical bills, and that cruise they booked before knowing how to pay for it. The only draining that happened was them siphoning me for years like I was a gas pump with no off switch. I sent the screenshot to Mia. Her reply came fast. "I'm proud of you for not exploding. This is what people do when they lose control, they rewrite the story." I stared at her words longer than I expected. She always knew how to say the thing that reset the ground beneath me. But still, something in me clenched, the same old instinct to defend myself, explain myself, justify myself. The same instinct they trained into me. And then something else, calmer, colder, rose over it. No more. I wasn't running PR for a family who used my daughter as a punchline. At the station that afternoon, between calls, I got the second hit of the day. Dad left a voicemail. He sounded furious and exhausted at the same time, like a man who thought yelling could reverse a landslide already halfway down the mountain. "Caleb, call me back. Your mother is sick over this. We didn't raise you to turn your back on family. We need help. Real help. This month. The mortgage is behind. The heater bill is overdue. You know we counted on you. Be reasonable." Reasonable. The word set something off in me. Reasonable was the excuse they'd used to drain my bank account. Reasonable was the leash they kept around my neck. Reasonable meant, do what we want before we even ask for it. I didn't call back. Instead, when my shift ended, I drove home, kissed Mia, hugged Emma, and then sat on the living room floor assembling a Princess Castle Lego set with my daughter because that was my life now. A small, steady, chosen life. At 8:12 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Local area code. This time, a text. "You think you're done with us? Grow up. This family isn't finished with you." It wasn't signed, but I'd know my brother Mark's tone anywhere. He always talked like he was the bouncer of a club nobody wanted to get into. I showed Mia the screen. She looked at it once and said, "He's bluffing." Maybe. But something about the message lodged under my ribs. Not fear, clarity. They weren't just angry. They were regrouping. I felt the ground shift, the beginning of the next phase of the fallout. Because families like mine didn't go quietly when the money dried up. Mia touched my arm. "You ready for what comes next?" I nodded. "Oh yeah," I said. "I've been ready for years. I just didn't know yet how far they were willing to go. And I sure didn't know what they'd already set in motion." The next morning started normal enough. Coffee, scrambled eggs, Emma insisting her socks were too spicy, again. But by 10 a.m., my stomach dropped when Mia walked in from checking the mailbox. She was holding a letter. A thick one. Official envelope. County seal in the corner. "Caleb," she said softly, "this is addressed to you and your parents." My pulse kicked up. Nothing good ever comes in multi-party envelopes. I tore it open, trying not to look like my hands were shaking. Inside were 3 sheets of paper. The first sentence nearly knocked the air out of me. "This notice is to inform you that James and Patricia Whitman have filed for a temporary financial guardianship review." Guardianship. Guardianship. I read it again, slower this time, waiting for the words to rearrange themselves into something sane. But they didn't. My parents, my fully functional, not legally incompetent parents, had filed a petition claiming they depended on me financially to the extent that the court should evaluate my obligation to provide support. An obligation. Like I was their employer-funded pension. Like I was legally responsible for the holes they dug themselves into. Mia sat beside me, reading over my shoulder. "Oh my God!" she whispered. I kept scanning. Pattern of routine support established over a period of 5 years. Withdrawal of assistance resulting in financial instability. Family necessity. They were trying to tell the court I had created dependents, and was now abandoning them. I laughed once, a sharp, humorless bark. "They're saying I made them broke by not giving them more money." Mia put a hand on my knee. Not to soothe me, more like grounding me. "You're not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep them warm," she said. "No," I muttered, "but they're sure as hell trying to convince a judge otherwise." The third page was the kicker. "Please appear for administrative review on January 14th at 9:30 a.m. I leaned back against the couch. A guardianship review wasn't criminal. It wasn't even a lawsuit. It was worse in some ways, messier, pettier, designed to shame and pressure. Public record. Open hearing. They wanted to drag me in front of a judge and say out loud, "Our son owes us. Our son abandoned us. Our son chooses his wife over his blood." Mia squeezed my hand. "What are you going to do?" I looked at the letter, then toward our hallway lined with Paris photos and a little drawing of our family under the Eiffel Tower. My jaw tightened. "I'm going to show up," I said. "And I'm going to bring every receipt they pretended not to see." Mia nodded. "And I'll be there." Emma toddled over then, holding a stuffed koala, oblivious to the legal grenade in my lap. "Daddy, can we build the castle again?" she asked. I scooped her up, held her close. "Yeah, Bug. We can build whatever you want. Because that right there, was my real family. The rest? They just declared war. And I wasn't going into this one unarmed. I didn't sleep much the night after the guardianship notice. Not from fear I understood. This was something else. A mix of disbelief and that cold, electric alertness your body switches into when it finally accepts. They're not bluffing. They're actually going to do this. By morning, I'd already started gathering every financial record I had. Old transfers, bank statements, Venmo logs, roof invoices, the AC bill, tax records showing the personal loan I took out for their house. Mia made coffee and sat beside me, reading each page like she was reviewing evidence in a murder trial. At one point she exhaled, long and low. $18,674. she said. That's the total so far. I nodded without looking up. She continued, plus the hours you spent fixing their fence, and cleaning their gutters, and driving your dad to 3 separate appointments last year. I snorted. Those aren't billable. They are if they're going to pretend you're legally obligated to support them. She had a point. We spent the next 3 days in what I called silent paperwork fury, printing, highlighting, scanning, arranging. Every once in a while Mia would mutter, "Not exactly family, my ass," and I'd smile without meaning to. But on the 4th day, something happened. Something I didn't expect. My sister Tori showed up. Not my parents. Not Mark with another half-baked threat. Tori. The only one in the family with a working moral compass. She knocked softly, and when I opened the door, she looked uncomfortable. Not ashamed, not upset, troubled. "Can I come in?" she asked. Mia gave me a look that said your call, then went to the kitchen to start tea. I let Tori in. She sat on the couch, wringing her hands. "They're going too far," she said immediately. "I tried to talk them out of it, but they won't listen to me. Or to anyone." "Guardianship review?" I asked. She nodded miserably. "It was Dad's idea, but Mom signed off. They think a judge can force you to resume the payments." I laughed under my breath. "That's not how guardianship works." "I know," she said, "but they're desperate, Caleb. They're blaming you for everything. The missed mortgage, the heating bill, even the cruise deposit." "That cruise again. They'd rather drown than cancel a vacation." I leaned forward. "Tori, look." But she held up a hand. "No. Let me say this before I lose my nerve." She looked straight at me, eyes shining. "You didn't do anything wrong. You're not crazy. You're not cruel. You're finally protecting your own family. I should have said this years ago." My throat tightened unexpectedly. She kept going. "Mom kept saying Mia changed you. But honestly, I think Mia helped you grow a spine." From the kitchen. "Thank you," Mia yelled. Tori actually laughed. Then her voice softened. "I'm not here to defend them. I'm here to warn you. Mark is pushing this hard. He wants you humiliated publicly. He thinks if the judge scolds you, you'll come crawling back." My jaw flexed. "Not happening." "I know," she said. "But you need to be prepared. They are not coming to that hearing to tell the truth. They're coming to perform." I sighed, rubbing my eyes. "I have every receipt," I said. "Every transfer, every bill, every time they treated Emma like a bonus item instead of a child." Tori swallowed hard. "And Caleb, they've been telling the extended family that you're unstable. That Mia is manipulating you. That Emma isn't really part of us." The air in my house froze. Mia stepped into the doorway. "Good to know they're consistent," she said evenly. Tori stood. "I'm on your side. If you need me to testify, I will." I didn't expect the burn behind my eyes, but it hit anyway. "Thank you," I said. She hugged me before she left, a quick, tight hug that said I'm sorry. I tried. And when the door closed behind her, Mia walked up, slid her hands around my waist, and rested her forehead on my chest. "They're scared," she murmured. "That's why they're thrashing." "Yeah," I said. "But I'm done being their life preserver." Mia looked up at me. "Then we walk into that courtroom with our heads high." I nodded. Because I could feel it now, not just a fight. A shift. A real fracture in the old family script. And for once, I wasn't the one who was going to break. The morning of the hearing, I looked at Mia and Emma, my real family, and something settled in me. Not anger. Not fear. Certainty. I walked into that courtroom carrying nothing but the truth. No more excuses. No more quiet loyalty to people who mistook love for obligation. When the judge called my name, I stood tall. For the first time in my life, I wasn't showing up for them. I was showing up for us.